All right, the last tropical forest type that I want to talk about are the montane tropical forests. As promised, we're going to go to these places. Well, in a sense, we're going to go there. I wish we were there. I wish we were there right now. Um, these have more similarities to tropical forests, in particular because frosts are common here. Now, one of the ways that I define tropical forests are as being systems where frosts are uncommon. But as one moves up in elevation, anywhere in the world, temperatures drop. In fact, depending on where you are in the world, one can expect average temperature to drop as much as 4 degrees Fahrenheit as one moves up 1,000 feet. And I'm speaking in standard units there because I might measure temperature in centigrade whenever I'm doing it for science, but in terms of how I understand whether I need a jacket or not, I can't do that in centigrade yet. Anyway, frosts are common in these areas, and if you're camping there at night, you definitely need a jacket. They are moderately to weakly seasonal, and it really depends on where you are in the world. The particular range where you are in the world would depend on when the precipitation falls and how regularly it falls. The diurnal temperature ranges can be substantial. So in the most extreme cases, the high mountains of the Andes, it is summer every day and winter every night. They are aseasonal in terms of their temperature, but wildly, wildly dynamic in terms of their diurnal temperature. And that creates some really hard situations for plants and forests to grow. This is an example from Mesoamerica. These highland forests are dominated by pine, and that's why I draw the connection to temperate forests. Pines do well in these forests. Precipitation is actually mostly in the winter, which also favors pines and conifers in general. These forests are, they're high elevation. Tlajomulco is in about 13,000 feet. Frosts are common. In fact, in the winter, you can sometimes have snow. People live within these forests. They live up to quite high elevations, and they are broadly cleared and heavily utilized for timber and firewood. They're very important. They also stabilize soil during intense weather events, and this area is impacted by hurricanes. Even though it's higher and cooler, hurricanes are very important disturbance events that happen here, and they also can threaten the community's downslope during landslides and so forth. Here's another example, also from Guatemala. This is Volcan Santa Maria, which is near the town of Quetzaltenango. This is actually has these neat true fir forests, Aves, which is a species that you might associate with the Sierra Nevada. Cold forests where snow is more common, and the species Aves actually extends down into a little bit of Honduras, if I recall correctly. It's definitely in Guatemala. Really cool. Wow. There's the greatest diversity of conifers, of pines occurs in Mesoamerica, particularly in Guatemala and Mexico. So the greatest diversity of pine is right there in Chiapas, in this area of Guatemala. Just crazy, all kinds of different pine species, white pines and yellow pines. Really, really, really neat. I love this part of the world. Some of these are forests that are seasonally dry, and they're also occurring right at the elevation limit for trees in this area. Basically, wherever you look in the world, eventually it gets too cold for forests to persist, and here, right around the 4,000 meter mark, we're seeing that transition. These occur elsewhere in the world. Here's an example from the north of Vietnam. The trip that I got to do there, I went from Hanoi up into the mountains, getting up to an elevation of, I believe it was like 9,000 feet. This is an area where snow is common, and the forests have distinct seasonality. It's driven by frost events. Vietnam is not necessarily a nation that you would think about as having these kinds of forests, but the Himalayan plateau is basically transitioning down to the ocean across Yunnan, Laos, and Vietnam. So there's this these mountains and their forests are part of a broader distribution of high elevation forests in Southeast Asia. Uh, and the forests reflect the environment. The environment drives a lot of adaptation that we see here. These are deciduous forests. They lose their leaves because that is an adaptation to a cold winter. So what you're seeing here in this forest are lots of ash, some oaks, oak relatives, cedars, cedar relatives, things that would be familiar to someone from North America in terms at the genus level. And they're reflecting environment, temperature, and precipitation dynamics that are similar to forests that would be, like I say, familiar to someone whose experience is based in North America.